All right, diving right in, welcome to a deep dive all about hives.
Always exciting to tackle a new topic.
And it seems like this is a pretty personal one for you listening in right now. Maybe even something you're dealing with firsthand.
Yeah, definitely something a lot of people struggle with.
You sent in some really cool material for this deep dive,
I'm sorry to get into it.
including an excerpt about everyday tips and
Practical stuff.
practical stuff for sure, but also something called
Frequency healing.
frequency healing. Okay, that's a new one for me.
Definitely interesting stuff.
So we're going to break down those common hive triggers together.
Uh-huh.
Explore some practical ways to deal with them right now.
Hopefully get you some relief.
Exactly. And then we'll even get into this whole world of frequency healing.
Sounds like a plan.
So basically, we're taking you from, hives, what are these things, to, okay, I can handle this.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, right?
Always. Okay, so let's back up for a sec. What are hives exactly?
Wow.
Why do they seem to just appear out of nowhere?
Hives, also called urticaria, they're those red, itchy welts that pop up on your skin. And yeah, it can feel like they just come out of nowhere.
It's true.
Basically, it's your immune system going, hey, something's not right here. And the main player,
Let me guess.
histamine.
Histamine. Every allergy sufferer's worst nightmare.
Pretty much. When your body encounters a trigger,
Right.
it releases histamine and other chemicals,
Okay.
and that causes blood vessels to dilate,
Oh, I see.
which then leads to the swelling,
Makes sense.
and of course that awful itch.
Itchiness is the worst. But, you know, it's those triggers that really seem to be the biggest mystery.
Absolutely. Figuring out what sets them off is key.
And in the excerpt you gave,
Mhm.
it mentions a whole bunch of possible culprits.
A whole lineup of suspects.
Yeah, like a hive whodunit.
Exactly. We've got the usual suspects like allergies.
Of course, allergies. So that's food sensitivities, pollen,
Yep, pollen, pet dander,
dander.
the whole shebang.
Right.
But then you've also got stress.
Stress, yeah, for sure.
Infections like colds or the flu.
Ah, so when you're already feeling down.
Yep. And even some medications can be triggers,
Oh, really?
like antibiotics or certain anti-inflammatories.
Wow, I had no idea about the medication connection.
It's a tricky one for sure.
So basically anything could be a trigger, it seems like.
It can feel that way, yeah. That's why figuring out your own personal triggers is so important.
But how do you even start to narrow it down?
That's where a little detective work comes in.
Ooh, I like this.
Keeping a daily journal can be super helpful.
A hive journal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Track what you're doing, what you're eating,
Mm-hmm.
and when those hives pop up, you might start to see some patterns.
Patterns, okay. Like every time I eat peanuts, bam, hives.
Exactly. Or, oh, big presentation at work, hives.
Traffic jam, hives.
You got it. The more clues you gather, the easier it is to solve the mystery.
Love it. Okay, so we've got our detective hats on.
We're ready to investigate.
Ready to go. And speaking of clues, the excerpt also had a bunch of tips on how to actually manage the hives themselves.
Ah, yes. Getting to the practical stuff.
Exactly. Let's get into that.
Okay, so first and foremost, once you know your triggers,
Yeah.
avoid them.
Okay, that seems pretty obvious. But I'm guessing it's harder than it sounds.
It can be, yeah.
So, like, checking food labels carefully,
Mm-hmm.
maybe changing up your environment if something in it is triggering you.
Exactly. And for stress, finding ways to de-stress.
Stress management, yeah. I think people often underestimate how much stress can affect the body.
Oh, it's huge. Stress releases cortisol,
Right.
which can actually ramp up inflammation in the body
Oh, wow.
and even weaken your skin's protective barrier.
So it's like a double whammy. The stress is triggering the hives,
Mhm.
and then it's making your skin more vulnerable too.
Yep, not a good combo.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're avoiding triggers.
Yep.
What else is in the excerpt's hive fighting arsenal?
Let's talk about clothing.
So-
Yeah, the excerpt says to go for loose, comfy clothes.
Okay, so nothing too tight,
Exactly. Tight clothing can rub and irritate your skin.
making the hives worse.
Exactly. And natural fabrics like cotton are best.
Makes sense. They're more breathable.
Yep, gotta let your skin breathe.
So comfort is key. And I'm guessing heat is a no-no.
You guessed it. Heat can make those blood vessels dilate even more,
Oh, right. Yeah.
which makes the hives more prominent and itchier.
No one wants that.
Yeah.
So cold showers,
Cold showers.
cool compresses.
Yep, cool compresses, those are your friends.
And menthol in anti-itch creams, right? That gives that nice cooling sensation.
Exactly. Instant relief.
What about moisturizing? Is that good or bad for hives?
Moisturizing is actually really important.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Dry skin can actually make the itching even worse.
Oh, interesting.
So keeping your skin hydrated,
Right.
it helps protect it. And opt for gentle moisturizers. Fragrance-free is best.
No strong perfumes or anything?
Exactly. You don't want to irritate those hives even more.
Okay, so we're moisturizing, keeping things cool, and we're avoiding triggers like the plague.
Especially stress.
Oh, yeah, we got to tackle that stress. The excerpt mentioned some ways to do that, right?
It did. Things like deep breathing exercises.
Deep breathing.
Meditation, yoga.
Yoga's always good.
Or even just a nice walk in nature.
I love a good nature walk. Anything that helps you unwind and chill out.
Exactly. Relaxation is key when it comes to hives.
And what about over-the-counter remedies? Do antihistamines actually work?
Antihistamines can be a lifesaver for hives. They basically block the effects of histamine.
So they stop the reaction.
Exactly. But there are different types of antihistamines.
Okay.
You've got first-generation ones like diphenhydramine, which can make you pretty drowsy. And then there are second-generation ones like cetirizine or loratadine,
Right.
which are generally non-drowsy.
So less chance of falling asleep at your desk.
Exactly.
But probably best to chat with your doctor
Always a good idea.
to see which type is best for you.
Definitely.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. Remember earlier when we talked about frequency healing?
Ah, yes. Time to get a little woo-woo.
Right. I gotta admit, I'm super intrigued. How can sound possibly help with hives?
It's pretty mind-blowing, actually.
Yeah.
Frequency healing or sound healing.
Okay.
It's a gentle approach that uses specific sound frequencies
Okay.
to basically harmonize the body.
Correct.
It's like fine-tuning your internal orchestra.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Right, bringing everything back into balance.
Okay, but how does that translate into healing those itchy welts?
Well, think about it this way. Your body is this complex system.
Right.
And everything's vibrating
Okay.
at its own unique frequency. When you're healthy, everything's in harmony. But when things get out of whack,
Due to stress, you said, or?
stress, inflammation,
Okay.
all sorts of things, then those highs pop up. It's like a jarring note in the music.
So frequency healing is like bringing in a conductor to get the orchestra back on track.
Exactly. Certain frequencies are thought to target those areas of disharmony,
So calming things down.
calming the nervous system, reducing inflammation,
Makes sense.
and helping your body heal itself.
And remember we talked about how hives are often triggered by stress
Absolutely.
or an overactive immune system. Frequency healing could actually help with those underlying causes, not just the symptoms.
That's the beauty of it. It's a holistic approach.
Okay, color me impressed. But there are so many different sounds out there. How do we know which frequencies are the right ones for hives?
Now that's where things get really interesting. Research suggests that certain frequencies,
Okay.
like 285 hertz,
85, okay.
432 hertz, and 528 hertz,
Okay, writing this down.
those seem to have particularly beneficial effects on the body.
So specific frequencies for specific purposes, like what does that 285 hertz do?
Well, 285 hertz is thought to help with tissue repair and wound healing,
Interesting.
which could be great for those recurring hive outbreaks.
Wow, it's like having a sonic toolbox for healing. I'm sold. Where can people find these frequencies?
There are a lot of resources out there.
Yeah.
Websites, apps, even specialized practitioners who work with sound healing.
Okay, awesome. Frequency healing is definitely something I want to learn more about. But before we wrap up this part,
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that all these natural approaches, they're not a replacement for actual medical care.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
It's all about finding the right balance.
When would you say it's absolutely crucial to see a doctor about hives?
If your hives are sticking around for more than 6 weeks,
Okay.
that's considered chronic urticaria. Or if you have any severe symptoms,
With trouble breathing?
difficulty breathing, swelling in the face or throat,
Right.
hives that are spreading really quickly, those are all signs to get medical help right away.
Okay, so we're empowering ourselves but also being responsible.
Exactly.
Got it. So for anyone out there looking for natural ways to manage their hives, it sounds like frequency healing could be a really interesting avenue to explore.
It's definitely worth checking out,
Yeah.
especially since it might be able to help with those underlying causes of hives, not just the symptoms.
Totally. And that brings us to a pretty fascinating question.
What other natural approaches are out there?
What else can we add to our hive fighting toolkit? We'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive. Welcome back to our hive busting mission.
Round 2.
Last time we got into what hives actually are, those histamine-fueled bumps,
Always with the histamine.
and we even started talking about frequency healing.
Right, little sound therapy.
It's pretty wild. But before we get too deep into that,
Yeah.
we left off with a question.
We did. A bit of a cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger indeed. What other natural approaches are there for dealing with hives?
Ooh, good question. There's a whole world of natural remedies out there.
Like a whole arsenal.
Exactly. And one area that often gets overlooked
Okay.
is diet.
Food.
Food is medicine.
I'm all about that. But beyond avoiding food allergies, are there certain foods that can actually help reduce hive symptoms?
Absolutely. There are certain foods that can be real allies in this hive battle.
Okay, lay it on me. What should we be eating?
Well, have you heard of quercetin?
Quercetin, that rings a bell.
It's a natural antihistamine.
Oh, interesting.
And you can find it in things like onions, apples,
Apples, okay.
berries.
Berries. So basically all the delicious foods.
Pretty much. Think of it as nature's Benadryl.
I can get behind that. What else is on the hive fighting menu?
Well, omega-3 fatty acids are another must-have.
Omega-3s, those are good for like everything, right?
Pretty much. They're amazing for reducing inflammation.
Which is key for hives.
Exactly. And you can find them in fatty fish like salmon and tuna.
Salmon, yum.
Also flax seeds, walnuts.
Okay, so salmon with the side of walnuts.
Dinner is served.
Perfect. What about gut health? Does that play a role in hives at all?
It's all connected. A healthy gut equals a balanced immune system.
Right, which is what we need to keep those hives in check.
Exactly. Probiotics are your friends here.
Probiotics, the good bacteria.
Yep. You can find them in fermented foods like yogurt or kefir, or you can take a probiotic supplement.
Okay, so we're boosting those good gut bugs.
Boost away.
Got it. And of course, we can't forget about good old-fashioned hydration.
Ah, yes. Hydration is key.
I'm guessing that's important for hives, too.
Definitely. Dehydration can make your skin drier,
Right.
which can make the itching even worse.
Ugh, no thanks. So we're drinking plenty of water.
Water, water, water.
Got it. Okay, now let's talk about topical remedies. We already mentioned cool compresses and moisturizers. What other natural options are out there?
Well, there's a reason why oatmeal baths have been a thing for centuries.
Oatmeal baths, yeah. They're supposed to be super soothing.
Exactly. Oatmeal has anti-inflammatory properties,
Makes sense.
so it can really calm that irritated skin. You can also try a baking soda paste.
Baking soda, like the stuff in my fridge.
The very same. Just mix it with a little water,
Okay.
make a paste, and apply it to the itchy spots.
So it's like a DIY anti-itch cream.
Exactly. Simple but effective.
I love those home remedies. What about essential oils? Are there any that can help with hives?
Lavender and chamomile are both great.
Lavender, yeah, that's super calming.
It is. And both of those oils have anti-inflammatory properties as well.
So they can help soothe the skin.
Exactly. Just remember to dilute them with a carrier oil.
Right, like coconut oil or almond oil.
Yep. Essential oils are potent stuff.
And always do a patch test first, right?
That's a good idea.
Just to make sure you don't have any reactions.
Exactly. Safety first.
Okay, so we've got oatmeal baths, baking soda paste, essential oils. What about mindfulness? How does that tie into managing hives?
Mindfulness is huge.
Really?
Yeah. Practices like meditation and deep breathing,
Okay.
they can really help regulate your stress response.
Which we know is a major trigger for hives.
Exactly. But it goes even deeper than that. Mindfulness also helps you become more aware of your body.
More in tune with it.
Exactly. You start to notice those subtle cues and triggers that might have gone unnoticed before.
So you're basically developing a hive radar.
I love that. Hive radar. You're becoming an active participant in your own healing.
That's empowering. So we've got dietary changes, topical remedies, mindfulness practices. It's like a whole hive-fighting toolkit.
It is. But are there any downsides to these natural approaches?
That's a good question. Natural doesn't always mean risk-free.
Exactly. It's always important to do your research, choose high-quality products,
Makes sense.
and if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, or have any underlying health conditions,
Right?
definitely check with your doctor first.
Always a good idea to be safe. So with all these natural remedies at our disposal, how do we know which ones to try first?
Well, that's where that hive detective work comes back in.
Our hive journal.
Exactly. Pay attention to the patterns, the clues. Maybe you notice your hives flare up after a stressful day.
Right.
That could mean stress management techniques are key for you. Or maybe there's a link between certain foods in your hives.
So it's all about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly. It's a personalized journey.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Try different things.
See what resonates with your body.
Okay, so we're empowered, we're experimenting, but we're also being responsible and listening to our bodies.
And if those red flags pop up,
Those warning signs.
definitely seek professional help.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got our hive detective hats on,
We're ready to go.
ready to investigate. Now, let's finally get into that fascinating world of frequency healing.
Let's turn up the volume on those healing vibes.
What wonders await us in the sonic realm? Find out in the final part of our deep dive. All right, we're back and ready to explore that sonic world.
Time for some frequency healing.
You know, I gotta say,
Yeah.
this whole idea that sound can actually help with healing,
It's pretty wild, right?
it still kind of feels like science fiction to me.
I get it. But think about it.
Okay.
Music can totally change your mood.
Yeah, true. Like listening to something upbeat can instantly boost my energy.
Exactly. Or a calming melody can help you relax.
Right. So in a way, we already know that sound can affect us.
We experience it all the time. Frequency healing just takes that idea a step further.
Okay, so it's like targeted sound for specific purposes.
Exactly. Using those vibrations to create harmony and balance within the body.
Okay, I'm following. But how does that actually translate into healing something like hives?
All right, so imagine this. Your body is like a big orchestra,
Okay, I like where this is going.
and every organ, every system, it's vibrating in its own unique frequency
Yeah.
when everything's in sync.
It's like a beautiful symphony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when things get out of whack,
From stress, inflammation,
all that stuff, it's like a wrong note starts playing.
and that wrong note is the hives.
Bingo. The hives are the body's way of saying, hey, something's off here.
Okay, that makes sense.
So frequency healing, it's like bringing in a conductor,
I love this analogy.
right, to fine-tune the orchestra.
Get everything back in harmony.
Exactly. Those specific frequencies can target those areas of disharmony.
Interesting. So calming the nervous system,
Yep.
reducing inflammation,
Uh-huh.
and basically helping the body heal itself.
Precisely. Remember how we talked about stress being a trigger for hives?
Yeah.
And an overactive immune system?
Mm-hmm.
Well, frequency healing can help address those underlying causes.
Not just masking the symptoms, that's pretty powerful.
It is. It's a holistic approach.
Okay, so I'm totally on board with this idea of frequency healing now, but how do we know which frequencies are the right ones to use?
Well, research has shown that certain frequencies have specific effects on the body.
Like, for example?
Well, 285 hertz.
Okay.
That one's thought to promote tissue repair and wound healing.
So that could be good for those recurring hive outbreaks?
Exactly.
Okay, any other frequencies we should know about?
432 hertz is a popular one.
Yeah.
It's often associated with a sense of peace and well-being.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
And then there's 528 hertz.
That's 28, okay.
Some people believe that one can actually help with DNA repair.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to get too deep into the science here,
Right.
but the key takeaway is
Yeah.
different frequencies can have different effects on the body.
So it's like having a sonic toolkit for healing. Okay, so where can people find these frequencies?
There are lots of resources out there, websites, apps.
Mm-hmm.
You can even find practitioners who specialize in sound healing.
Okay, cool. Frequency healing is definitely something I'm going to look into more.
I highly recommend it. It's a fascinating world.
It really is. But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
it's important to remember
Right.
that these natural approaches are not a substitute for professional medical advice.
Exactly.
Right. When would you say it's absolutely necessary to see a doctor about hives?
If your hives are lasting longer than 6 weeks,
So more than a month and a half?
yeah, that's a sign it could be chronic,
Right.
or if you have any severe symptoms.
Like difficulty breathing or swelling.
Exactly. Don't mess around with those.
Okay, so we're being proactive, but also being smart about it.
Absolutely. Listen to your body.
And know when to seek professional help.
Exactly. You're in charge of your own health.
I love that. So as we wrap up our hive deep dive today, we've learned about what hives are.
Those pesky welts.
We've explored all sorts of practical tips and remedies,
From diet to mindfulness.
and even ventured into the fascinating realm of frequency healing. It's been quite a journey, wouldn't you say?
It really has. And I hope you feel empowered to tackle those hives head on.
Me too. Remember, knowledge is power, and you've got a whole arsenal of tools now to help you manage those hives naturally and effectively.
So go out there and conquer those hives.
Exactly. And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.